So, dear Chris, welcome to my chronicles.
Yeah.
And in France.
Yay, France. Vive la
Yes.
France.
Yes, in France, because a lot of people don't know you in France.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that in USA, you are very well known. Yes. Because I saw you. It's for that I wanted to invite you. I saw you during the Orlando conference.
Ah, yes. Yeah,
Yes.
that was quite a thing. It was an amazing experience.
Yes, I see that. And when I saw you, because I follow Elena, I follow Michael Sala, I follow Jean-Charles. And when I saw you, I find you are very simple man, honest when you make your testimony. And it was why I wanted to invite you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. And after that, I watched all your interviews with Danny.
Yep.
And so interesting because here in France, we are beginning to awake and to be in the disclosure. It's only two years it's beginning.
Okay.
Yes. So when we are watching a lot of abroad in USA, it's a lot of information. So it's why I wanted to invite you, because you have a lot of disclosure to make.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of information. And the first one, Chris, you will tell us your story because you will explain to us that you were in the SSP program. Mm-hmm. And how did you know that you were in the SSP program? How do you discover that in your life?
Well, that's a good question. For the most part, I've always had memories that I couldn't place ever since I was even a little child. And those memories were being on a large space station and being in these small rooms with technology that I didn't know anything about. So they were just flashes of memory throughout my life ever since I could remember. And so it took, many years to kind of understand, because I was told, by my parents that I was a vivid dreamer. And so I just thought that's what that was. I'm just making things up in my mind.
Yes.
So, most of my life, that's what I thought, but then I knew inherently in my heart that it's like, well, there's more.
Strange. Yeah. Yes. Strange. Mm.
Yeah.
So
there's
more.
more to it. Yeah. There's too much. And so about 10 to 15 years ago, I was changing my life. I saw a need to improve myself, to begin meditative processes, to practice every day of meditation once or twice a day. And through that process, it centered my mind, of course. It calmed my mind. And then during meditation, then I would begin to recall more things because my mind was silent and my subconscious was letting things go,
Of course.
Yeah. And so then I began to put memories together like puzzle pieces, because there was no context to it. It was just these weird memories. So that was the beginning of my journey 10 to 15 years ago of really bringing those memories back. And I always wondered why I was followed, throughout my school experience as a child and young adult. I was always followed by these vehicles that had what looked like United States Air Force. I would see them all the time, and I'd mention it, and they're like, nobody else saw them the way I did. And they came to my school and spoke to my counselors and my parents, and I didn't know any of that. So it made sense later that they were just
Later.
keeping check. Yeah, like they were checking up on me.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. It's very
um,
difficult to understand in your head what
yeah,
was occurred.
I just thought everybody was followed by by these
Yes,
cars, with people
I'm
in
mad,
uniforms.
completely mad. Yes.
Yeah, so that was kind of the beginning of my childhood, my life, and my experiences, and so through the meditative process, then I began to really begin to stitch the memories together, and I had to first and foremost accept in myself, admit to myself, and accept that these are memories. These are things that really happen, and it's difficult to do that. So once I got over over that egoic place that I was in, and accepted that these are memories, and it's okay that they're memories, and I'm not crazy,
And you are not
and
crazy.
yeah, it's like I
Well,
thought I was for a while.
yeah, yes, for a
you
while,
know
but not after.
yeah,
Yes,
not
yes,
yeah.
sure, sure.
Yeah, I mean, because it just doesn't make sense. I mean, I'm a
Yes.
logical thinking person, and I do research for museums and stuff around the world and for feature films. And so, I mean, I have a mind to put things together, and so I think that served me well in the process. Um, but once I began to understand what these experiences were, then I was actually able to, because I've always seen like spirits, and I could sense things around me, and they would appear to me as a child, even through as an adult, even to today. And I know when there's somebody's near me and I can't see them, I know if they're there.
Hmm.
So I began to understand that those aren't necessarily ghosts. A lot of times they're people that I know, that are in a higher density that can come in. They just choose not to be seen. And that's their choice because they have that ability. And so I began to put all this stuff together, and I had to do it kind of in a spiritual way first and foremost, and then as I began to open my mind to spiritual understandings of what's really happening on Earth and what's really happening off of Earth, then I couldn't help but accept the fact that
Hmm.
there's so much more than what we see, so much more,
Yeah.
and then that really began to open my memories, and they're still opening. It's probably going to be a process until I die. I'm going to remember things as I go, you
Uh-huh.
know. Uh, but then I began to remember the actual experience of being off planet, of the fact that prior to my incarnation here on Earth, I made a plan to go into the SSP, and what I now know to be the Space Force, the United States Space Force. Um, that was a whole planned out thing. It was a contract that me and my soul family had with the United States government at that time, to be taken. And I was taken. I was taken at 2 years old.
2 years old. Yes, I see
Yeah,
that. Oh, wow. Very
yeah,
young. But
very.
what they do with a child of 2 years old? What they do?
Well, in my case, I can only speak for myself because it's my personal experience and my memory. They took me out of my crib at 2 from California, and I was taken somewhere. I don't know where. I don't remember, have the memory of it too much. I just have flashes of memory. And some of those memories that I have are of being placed in like an acrylic tube, a little
Yeah.
bit bigger than I was. They
Uh-huh.
placed me in that tube, and that tube was full of this purple lavender kind of a gel. And that I was basically drowned in it.
Uh-huh.
And then they placed needles,
Uh-huh.
say it's a round tube and I'm laying in it, and then they place needles all around it. I'm suspended, in this tube of gel with needles going in my body everywhere. That was to get that gel into
It's
my body
traumatic now.
internally.
It's traumatic
Very.
memories.
Oh
Uh-huh.
yeah, very.
Yeah.
I mean, being drowned. I mean, it's a limited memory because at that time, it was a 2-year-old brain. So, it's just trauma. That's all.
Yes,
You
it's a
could really
trauma.
imagine. Yeah.
Imagine.
But I do remember flashes of being put in and being, struggling to breathe. But it turns out that that gel is actually a very, very expensive growth gel.
A
And
growing gel.
yeah,
Growing
it
gel.
causes you to rapidly grow. And
Okay.
they create this gel based on your DNA, so they can replicate the gel, they can grow it. But it's based on your DNA, so you're suspended. It's like being in the womb, where you're in there, just like that type of an experience. And this growth gel is grown with your DNA, so that they can inject it throughout the body, and all of your organs, your bones, everything will grow at the same rate. That's why they have to inject it, so that everything is equally absorbed in it. And it took, I don't know how long it took, but it took, I'm guessing 4 to 5 weeks to grow.
5 weeks, yeah.
And then they grew me to about the age of 25, mid-20s or so.
At 25 years old?
Yeah. So in just a few weeks, I was 25.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then, of course, they took me out of that tube. They moved me from that tube to a larger tube, soon after. And I lost consciousness. I don't remember any of it. I just remember the moments of going in and coming out.
And in and out, yeah.
Yeah, because that was pretty traumatic.
Yes, of course.
You're breathing gel, or you're breathing air, and then you're breathing gel. So that's traumatic. And then you're coming out of the gel and breathing air, and that's traumatic. And so you remember those things. I remember those moments.
Yes.
But after that, so they removed me. I was 25, and then they have this technology that they can actually remove your memory and remove your consciousness from the pineal gland. And they do that with vibration and piezoelectric type energy, and they can adjust their machines to your personal frequency. And then when they do that, then it's just this handheld little thing, like a wand sort of thing, that's computerized, and they just put it to your temple, push a button, and they kind of push and hold the button, and it overrides your frequency in your pineal gland, because that's where your soul and consciousness are seated. It overrides that frequency, and it magnetically just draws it into the device.
Okay.
And then they go, and they can put it in another body. So that's not what they did with me, but I told you that because that comes up later. But for what they did with me was they didn't remove my consciousness or any of that, because I was still in my original body that I was born in. They just advanced my age. So then what they did was they have the frequencies of what our DNA-based memory are on. They can tell that. And because I was working with the intent prior to this experience, I'm sure that I personally gave them my frequencies, because then I had all my memories prior to being born. So they take those frequencies and they unlock all the memories that I had. So I suddenly was 25 years old, and I remember who I am, why I'm there. I had a number of abilities that all humans have. We just forget. Telepathy and empathy and things like that we actually can connect on if we work on it.
There are memories from your past lives or from your soul lives?
Yeah, it's from all of my past lives. They unlocked everything. Yeah, because the nature of what I was going to be doing for the United Nations later, I needed all my memories, and that was the whole plan, and so they unlocked all those memories, and so suddenly I remembered who I am. So I'm not a 25-year-old and a
very powerful brain. Yes, very powerful.
Yeah.
A big soul with all capacities, abilities. Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, I have to say, because suddenly you wake up from a dream. You're there. You're real again. And whole. Because right now I can feel the experience. It's difficult unless you've had the experience of knowing what you're like whole, your soul. that's why I tell so many people that, we need to work on our memories and recalling
Yes.
things so that we unlock the full potential of what our soul is here while we're in third density on Earth. So that's what they did. They unlocked my memories, and then I remembered why I was there. And then I began working with the United States the space programs, which is the Space Force.
Yes, and with that, all that memories, what are the jobs you have to make during these programs, military programs? Do you remember?
Yeah, I don't remember a lot of detail, but I do remember, again, flashes of some of my jobs at first, because many people sign up for what they call a 20 and back program, meaning 20 years service. I did 60. I did 320 years.
But it means that actually you are making a program.
Yeah. I'm technically still out there on another timeline.
Yes,
and I know that's another brain melter.
Yes, you say 60 for explaining. You are 60, but you are 50. So
yeah, I'm not even that old yet.
Yeah. At the same time.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's kind of like brain. Wow. So the first 20 years in the program, I worked on Earth sometimes in the United States, and I was in other places. A lot of my memories they're either buildings or ships, so I don't remember a lot of being outside except for working in the southwestern United States, the deserts in those areas. I worked on programs as security for a while, and watching children that were unfortunately taken, and you're forced to do things you wouldn't necessarily want to do when you're in a military program, of course. And I also worked with a device that would do the memory extraction and the consciousness and soul extraction. So I learned that technology as well, and some healing modalities, some ways to heal the body. And so that was the work that I primarily did for the United States for the first 20 years.
20 years. And the second one? Yeah. Do you remember the second one?
The second 20, yes. After 20 years, the plan that my soul group made with the United States was that I would give my first 20 years of service to the United States. And then I would be transferred to the United Nations. And I'd work for the planet. Yeah. Okay. So I was representing the whole planet versus just the United States. That was the plan, and that's what we did. So after 20 years, I moved to a moon called Mimas, outside of Saturn. So the moon of Mimas in Saturn is actually a space station. And so that's where I spent the next 40 years. That's where I still am technically.
And on the moon of Saturn, what did you do there?
There, I would work with negotiations, work with many races, because there were many races there that they were remarkable races of different beings, and we were basically there, representing the Earth, and unfortunately having to make up for some of the Earth humans have done. That we've been off planet for at least 50 years, and some of them are not nice groups, and they'll go and conquer, and they'll go and take other places over and take things from other races, and we have to go and apologize, as a planet, and say we're so sorry that this happened. They don't represent Earth, but how it works in the galactic level of a full race, we're all considered Earth humans, even if we left in groups and we're living on another planet or an asteroid somewhere, or some outpost. We're still considered Earth humans. by all the other races. So if they go do something bad, then they come to Earth representatives and say, this is what happened, and you guys are responsible. You got to make it right. So that's what I did a lot of, and the reason I was there was because of my telepathic ability that was unlocked, and then I could, because most races don't verbally communicate.
I know, no,
it's
with
like telepathic.
Yeah, no.
And some of them are verbal and some are not. And there's a huge variation.
Not a
some
lot.
just have frequency, some just have vibration, some just show you pictures or give you an emotion.
Yeah, it's enough.
Yeah, I mean, you figure out what you're trying to communicate well enough. And so I had that ability, and they could actually, a lot of them could communicate with me, because our human brain's if they're amazing, they're like galactically known as being an amazing humans, and the brains are amazing, but they're not developed because we've been suppressed and told that we don't have the ability, and so we don't remember that we can do it.
No, we don't remember. Yeah,
we don't remember.
But they don't want that we remember.
No, they don't want us to. Yeah. And when I say they, it's like there are some negative forces that have kept us as humans, as an entire race, suppressed to keep us on, controlled, because we revolted before on Earth. This isn't the first time we populated the Earth with humans. It's actually, this is our 7th. We've had 6 other incarnations of the human race, or they weren't as refined as we are now, but we were destroyed 6 other times. And so this time we're not going to be destroyed again. We've paid our dues. We're at the end of the 3rd density going into 4th, so we're not going to be destroyed again. And that's why we had those control mechanisms placed in our brains thousands of years ago, so that we wouldn't remember who we are and the power we have, because we're much more powerful than any of the other negative forces that might come in.
Yes. And it's very hard to remember if we are not in spiritual field, because before our awakening, we can't. And then there is maybe a traumatic event or a health problem, or and it's at this moment we can think that we are another people, and that we are at a moment where we are thinking of us directly, on us. If we are in life, job, we don't think to us directly. Inside us, it's difficult to think, and we need a traumatic event to make the point.
Crack our brain open, just crack our consciousness open and make us aware again. And it happened with me because I accepted my death 3 times in my life. I completely accepted I was going to die in that moment, and that changes your brain. That changes the way you think. When you literally think you're going to die in this moment, it's over. You let everything go. Nothing matters. A long story short, what really made it happen for me, about 12 years ago, I had pneumonia. I was in the hospital and I couldn't breathe, and it was a terrible experience. I was intubated, and for 2 full days, I couldn't. I had fallen, and so I couldn't breathe deeply. So I got pneumonia. Well, every ounce of energy I had, the only thing I cared about was a single breath. And I would tell myself, Chris, you don't have to take 2 breaths. Just take 1. Just take one. That's all you have to do. I mean, imagine that's the only focus in your life for 2 full days, taking a single breath. Well, that changed the way I saw things.
Yes, of course.
Because I'm like,
of course,
nothing matters.
Yes, it's magic to breathe.
So let it all go. Let it all go. It's fine.
Yes. And when we are in spiritual phase, we say breath, breath, because it's the only thing it's important in your life. Breath. Take your time.
Yeah. And then if you can take a breath, then you can do something and add on to that breath. But you first have to take a breath.
Yes, take a breath. Don't move. Be calm. And wow, let's go. Let's cool a moment. So after your 40 years, you are so in your last 20 years, SSP, actually?
Yes.
Do you think?
Yes.
So what are you making now? You don't know?
Well, off planet, I as I recall, I'm still on the Mimas moon. And I know that it sounds like really crazy to say that, but it's really very, very easy when you have the correct technology to jump timelines. It's very easy. It just takes seconds, then you're on another timeline. But you can also, another thing that we forget that we're able to do as humans is to personally transport our own bodies through timelines. And that's a memory that's been suppressed, so we don't remember the power that we have. Because we can jump timelines, we can actually teleport our physical body. If we choose, we just have to remember the process. And I can't do it. I remember, physiologically the process that I'm supposed to take to do it, but it takes a lot of spiritual seeking daily to get to the vibration to be able to do it.
So for a lot of meditation, maybe you use a lot of meditation times.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and it's necessary because you have to get beyond your conscious. We have the conscious, the logical mind, and the subconscious mind. We got to turn off the logic mind, and then if we turn off the logic mind consciously, then the subconscious, then those memories can float in. They can come through, and so that's the process. Once you begin doing that. And you can do it any way that works for you as an individual, but as a human brain continues to think all the time, and you can't be conscious and not think. We just have to learn to silence that a little bit.
Silence.
Just get a little silence so your subconscious and your memories can float out.
I like silence.
Yeah.
It's at the moment of the silence where we can hear other people in higher frequencies. Yeah. Of course.
Oh yes, I've been visited many times in meditation. Because you raise your vibration by becoming silent, your vibration is able to rise up, and then they're higher vibration, so they can come in and kind of meet you.
So halfway. They come, yes. So you will speak about your arcturian visitor, please. Your arcturian, Jake. Hi, his name. Your actor, Jake Dim.
Oh, Jigadim.
Who is Jake Dim?
Jigadim. That is a friend that I made off planet. He's a hybrid. He's a mixture between Arcturians and the Andromedans. They're very similar races, so they kind of intermingle. Go ahead.
Oh, so it comes a lot of time to see you when you are in meditation, actually, yes?
Yes. I mean, admittedly, he hasn't much lately because I've been so busy. I haven't spent those many hours in meditation to get to that vibrational state that it could be easily come in. But yeah, I can tell if he's around. He'll pop in and check in on me, see how things are going. Because you know how it is with somebody that you know well, is like maybe they walk up behind you, you can tell they're there. You can feel them. It's like that. You know who it is.
Yes, and you talk also about Sasquatch. It's my I have a big feeling with Sasquatch because I met my Oro. My Oro is a Sasquatch in the inner earth. I met him during an hypnosis, and he talked to me about their I'm searching my words. I'm sorry, sorry,
Okay.
Chris, because it's not so easy to speak in English when you're French, complicated. So yes, I met him in the Inner Earth, and he explained to me that he wanted to show me that the family is very important, because the family is the family on Earth. It's the same family beyond the world, the Earth, because family, it's a feeling of love, of sharing, of communion. So I met. So did you met some Sasquatch?
Well, in this life, yes. Well, I was from Southern California. We went to the mountains a lot.
Oh yeah.
Up, in California, there's a lot of Sasquatch in those mountains. Like the Sierra Nevadas, and so they're there. And the first time I ever saw one, I was about, I don't know, 5 or 6 or something. We were in a cabin in Lake Arrowhead, California, and I was sleeping in the living room, and it was all glass front because we were in the woods, right? So it's really beautiful. So it was all glass front, and there was a garbage can on the front porch right against the window.
Oh.
And it was dark, it was at night, middle of the night. And I hear this heavy walking on the deck, and I'm just like 4 or 5 feet from the glass. So I'm just right there. And so I open my eyes, and there's this massive creature. I can only see a shape because it's nighttime. There's a little bit of ambient light from like a porch light or something. And so I see her outline. I can tell it's a female. She bends over. I can see her breasts. And she opens the garbage can, and she goes through the bag, pulled out a bag and was going through it. And I'm laying there. She's just a few feet away on the other side of the glass, and I'm like terrified. Like, there's a monster.
My God. At 5 years old, it's a traumatic moment.
It was frightening.
Yes, frightening. Yes.
So that was the first time. But the next day, I was one of those kids that was out in the woods by himself climbing trees. The next day, I didn't know what it was, but I could hear them hollering and screaming. And I remember the sounds. Now I know the sound is our Sasquatch. And I could hear them talking to one another. I didn't see anybody, but they were in the bushes and behind trees, I'm sure, or up in the trees. And I could hear them speaking to one another. And it was like, if you're speaking really fast and you can kind of understand, they're like too far away, you can't quite understand what they're saying. It's that kind of a sound. And so that was that same trip. So then I knew they existed.
Yes.
And I've run into them 2 or 3 times throughout my life, because I love it going out into the wilderness. So, and then one time I was leaning against a tree by myself. This was in Texas, a big pine tree. And I put my head back and I looked up, and there's a Sasquatch up in the tree looking down at me.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, that was pretty scary.
I can't move anymore.
I like, at this time, I don't know anything about who they are. I just know they're like monsters in the woods, right? I was still young when that happened. And then I would walk up on them in the bushes, and they would be growling at me. And, and you can tell there's a difference between the size of an animal with their lungs. You can hear the deep sonic almost vibration of breath, or if they're going to growl, you can hear the vibration of the lungs is really deep and large sound. And of course, being me, I heard them growling in the bushes, and I thought, I went closer. Of course, I didn't run away. I walked closer, and then they growled again, and I stopped, and I said, let's go a little closer, because I had to see what it was, right? And it was like right in front of me, but the bushes were so dense I couldn't see through. I could just see a shape. And so what it was is, I'm sure it was just one of them taking a nap in these bushes, and I just disturbed them, and they were being nice about it by growling at me, trying to get me to walk away. So I took another step forward, and then it was like it was like an elephant, just like, whoa.
Oh,
and I'm like, okay, I'm done.
Big experience, huh? Of course. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yes,
but yeah.
I
Go ahead.
suppose that when we don't disturb them, they are very quiet people.
Yeah, yeah, and they are people. You know, they actually are. There's three types of Sasquatch. There's two primary physical beings. One of them are more animal-like, a little bit more less intelligent. And then the more intelligent ones are the ones that have glowing red eyes. So that's another species. And that species of Sasquatch are actually from another planet. It was a planet Maldek that it has.
Maldek.
Yeah, that blew up. They blew their own planet up. They weren't Sasquatch then. They were more of an insectoid type of being living on the planet. They blew it up, and they went through trauma for like 500,000 years, and then were sent to Earth, or chose to come to Earth with help from soul groups, different races of aliens. They helped them come to Earth and begin the reincarnation process again, so that they could continue their journey. But they chose a form that was not the human form. They didn't want to come in as humans because they felt they didn't learn their lesson in blowing up their planet. And so they felt like if they were less able to build nuclear weapons, dexterity and that type of stuff, then they wouldn't blow up Earth. So that's why they chose to come in. But they're highly intelligent. The ones with the glowing red eyes, highly intelligent. They're telepathic, and they can touch your brain and make you think they disappear right in front of you, or they could be standing there and you wouldn't know they're there, because they know how to tell our brain not to see us.
And do you think that when they come on Earth, in our life here today, they use portals and portals, energetic portals to come in, to come from?
Well, see, they have that. They're a much older race than humans, so they have that. They have the knowledge and the capacity to. And they're more connected to nature, and they're connected to Earth, and they can feel Earth's energetic and electromagnetic field. And they use the electromagnetic field and Earth's energy to transport. So they do have the capacity to transport. Humans do too. We just forgot. We've been told we can't, so we don't try.
So they can too. Yes, we will. We hope that we will have this technology soon, because I would like to visit you one moment to another, because it's too far with a plane today.
It's a long way.
It's very tired too to go one place to another place. I want it to be teleported.
It'd be much easier.
It's much easier, yes, and faster, and faster.
Oh yeah, instant.
So I am looking for my notes. So how can you explain? Because we have stopped that you are at your 60 years SSP, and how did they do to make you return back to your 2 years old?
Yes, the memory, or the technology to remove consciousness and memories can be used to move you from one body to another. And it only works if you have the same DNA. So what they do is they can easily make clones. They've been making clones for a long time. And it depends on the type of clone that they make and the technology that they use, on whether or not it's a stable, true copy of your body. So they keep copies of certain people, that have certain roles or jobs or whatever. In case you do get killed, they can replace you. They can take your consciousness and memories out of one, put it in the other, and it feels no different, because this is my third clone. I've been moved
with your
times.
DNA. With your DNA.
With my DNA. Yeah. So it's easy. Your consciousness remembers the body, so they have it in that device, right? They're holding that button, holding you inside of this little device. And when they bring you to a clone, they remove you from, say, well, this is easier if I tell you an experience that I had. You'll understand it better. After I moved to Saturn and began working there, I was in negotiations from a race that one of the human dark fleets had gone and killed about 300,000 of these beings on their own planet because they had resources that they wanted. So obviously they're angry and they're upset, and this is a race that doesn't really show emotion, but when they show it, it's extreme and fast. So we're in negotiation. I'm never in charge of those negotiations or those meetings. I'm there with whether it's the U.S. Space Force or it's the United Nations, whoever it might be that doing the negotiations. I'm simply there as an observer to check in with them because I can telepathically communicate and I can tell empathically if things are going well, if they're not. I kind of say, listen, you need to change your attitude because this isn't working. You're not communicating or whatever this might be. So we're sitting across from three entities from this planet. There's three of us. And the one directly across the table from me is the one in charge, and he is getting really angry. He feels like he's not being heard by my superiors, that they're kind of flippant, about the fact that 300,000 of their people were killed, and he's taking it too lightly.
Of course.
He's not getting it. And so he instantly just got angry. And then he swiped his hand across his chest like this. And then where, like the center of his chest, this beam of this greeny blue, kind of maybe more green light came out and hit me right here on my right shoulder. And then it knocked me out of my seat, of course. So it was a weapon. They have internal weapons. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he intended to get swipe. I could tell. We talked later. He intended to get all three of us and just kill all three of us. He was just so angry in the moment because we were there negotiating because they were going to come to Earth and kind of get revenge. And so it was important, that didn't happen. So that happened, and I died. So they take that little device that I was telling you about. And because there's always one nearby, and we were in our own emissary, basically. We were emissaries in our own area, embassy on the station. So my clone was over there for emergencies. As my superiors, they had clones there as well. But I got hit, and so I fell back and I died. So if they can get you within 2 hours or so, your consciousness can be retrieved. So they go in with the device and they pull out my consciousness and basically my soul matrix, soul complex, and that includes the memories. They just push the button, it all gets drawn out, and then they go to the clone and they just put it to the side, the temple of the clone, and let the button go. And because it recognizes my DNA, consciousness snaps into the pineal gland, and then you're alive again in a new body. Okay. And so that was my first clone, and that was about 21 years. After going into the service. And then after that 20 years, so I was negotiating for my 60 years at the end of 40. This was pure vanity. I wanted a 25-year-old body again because they kept the clones at about mid-20s. So I got a new clone, for my last 20 years. And then at the end of that 20 years, they take a clone. They have another clone, but it's the same age as when I was taken at 2 years old. It could be any age. It doesn't matter. I was 2. Then they take the memories, or they take the consciousness and everything out, and they can remove memory from a consciousness. It's probably more precise now, but then it was more like they can take out a block of memories, say my whole 60 years, the last 60 years, they can easily take out, because our memories are based on our DNA and the vibration of our DNA. And as we have experience through time, the vibration slightly changes. So they can find the vibration that they want to begin removing the memories for, and then find where they want to end that block. And then they can set the computer up, and the computer takes out all those memories of all those years. It could be 2 seconds, it could be 60 years. So that's what they did. So now they moved me out, put me in a 2-year-old clone, and basically erased all of my memory, as most 2-year-olds don't have any established memories. And then I was returned at 2 years old, and there was no time difference. So my parents, the only difference
Yes,
was...
I wanted to say, and your parents didn't see anything?
No, well, the only thing was I was in my crib in one moment. The next moment I was in the closet. And they couldn't figure out how that happened. How I ended up in the closet. That was the only thing. But there was no real perceivable amount of time, because they can jump timelines, and they can leave. They could leave before they arrived the first time. They can you can arrive anytime you want when you have the right technology.
Okay. It's a very great technology, and very hard to understand for us humans, because it's so revolutionary, I can say, because with DNA we make clones, we can return back 20, 40 years before, after. Wow. It's very incredible. And so Chris, yes, it's incredible. And so Chris, with all that memories, all that this knowledge, what do you do with this in your life? What do you do with this? What do you want to do? Tell us to end the interview for today.
Okay. All right. A couple of things. Firstly, I've chosen to share my story because the whole purpose of my being here is to assist in disclosure, meaning human race is now evolving. And we can tell because we're moving into from a third density experience and a third dimensional experience into a fourth density experience, and that means the photonic vibration of the Earth is raising, and that means that we're going to change physiologically, and we're going to be able to. Our memories will come back more easily, and so that we're in that process. All races have it. We become more intelligent, and then at that point we can leave the planet if we choose. So that's where we're moving into now. And so what happens is races come in and they incarnate through a race that's in the process of evolution. And that's why I'm here. And there's many, many, many of us. I'm not that unusual. There are millions and millions of us, different races here trying to assist human race in the evolutionary process. And so that's my primary goal. And part of that is to help people remember and to unlock memory and to recognize their power and to remember who they are. So I also brought in that respect, because we need to learn how to heal ourselves and, understand that we have the power to do anything that we choose to do. We have to do it through love. So I brought that technology, part of the technology, the healing technology that I used when I was in the Space Force, back to Earth. And so I build little devices now that help people energetically heal themselves. And it's a magnetic device, and magnetism is amazing for the human body to heal itself.
So you talk about your DEAM device, that's right?
Yes, the DEAMS device, that's correct. So I build them, and so part of that is disclosure for me, because when people buy DEAMS device, people that don't even do energy work, like they can feel something. Not everybody can. Some people can't because they're not quite there yet. We're all on a different level. And so those that do, and it does, it helps relieve pain, and because magnetism is really an amazing thing for the body to.
And to memorize, what are your advices to memorize? Try to recover memories.
The very, very first thing to do is to open your mind. Don't just say that's not possible, that doesn't make sense, you're nuts, and allow yourself to just say, well, maybe it's possible that these
Yeah.
crazy things that this guy's saying might be true.
Yes,
You know,
might be true.
and just it's tough. That's a hard one. But then
Yeah.
what that will do is that will let you begin to like have dreams or have, you know, flashbacks or little things that maybe you've been ignoring and just brushing off, and then realize, oh wait, maybe this is something more to it. And then, but the first thing to do is to allow yourself to accept the possibilities that there are things going on, you know. And then meditation, you know, however you can silence your mind, calm your mind, and spend some time on your own, then and raising your vibration.
Yeah. What do you think about hypnosis? Do you think that helps at the first time?
I think anything that you can do to crack open your consciousness, you know, to just like, without having to go through trauma, if possible, you know, accepting your death, you know, if you can avoid that, that's why you have to just allow yourself to think the possibilities could be true. Otherwise, you know, you're gonna have to go through some trauma, you know, to crack you open, you know. So hypnosis can be helpful. It's important, you know, to understand that you have to take everything without any seriousness and just allow things to be in your mind, to put parts together, you know, and don't take things too seriously. Don't you know, don't throw things to the side either. So it's just an allowance. Allow your own memories to come through, you know. So however that works for the individual.
Yeah. So marvelous that a lot of people are talking about the disclosure now, because we are learning a lot of things about the universe, in fact, about what we are really. And yes, and it's difficult to talk about that, because people can say that we are mad, that we are crazy, but we are not, because we have seen somebody, and it's true. Because for my case, for example, I didn't know about nothing about Arcturian race or Arcturian galactic people. I didn't know about nothing, and it was a reconnection, the reality, a day like that. So it's because we are volunteer.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I discovered I was a volunteer.
Yeah. Yes. I'm sure you are. You know, when you can begin to understand and accept those things, it just opens the world up to you. You know,
yes, that's right.
The galaxy.
So, yes, and the galaxy is very big, and the universe is wonderful, and it's crazy that we can meet together today from a lot of very far distance.
Oh yes.
Yes. Yeah. So, Chris, I'm quite happy to have received you here today. I hope we will discuss another day, huh?
Yeah, of course.
When we are free, because you have a lot of things to do. You need to share your experience.
Yeah, working on it.
Will you go to the? Yeah. Will you go to the future conference in Orlando? I see that.
Yes. Yeah, I will be in the the Galactic and Spiritual Informers Connection in Orlando. Yes. That's in October of this year.
In October, yes. So we hope to have a lot of interviews about that conference, and I hope to see maybe before for discussing more about some points, because today it's very fast and we have learned a lot of things. Okay.
So many things.
So I thank you very much, Chris. It was a pleasure to receive you. I don't want to take your time, and all my hugs and my love, and I hope to be in contact with you soon. Okay?
Absolutely. It's been an honor. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And love to you all.
Thank you very much. And you are a very kind person. I thank you very much, Chris, to be there.
Thank you.
And my auditor are very pleased to see you. I'm sure.
Oh, great.
So have a great day. Beautiful day.
You too. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. I will go to dinner now.
Yeah. Well, good.
Yes. So
All
bye
right.
bye, Chris. Thank you very much.
You're very
Thank you very
welcome.
much. All my thanks. All my thanks. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.
See
Bye
you.
bye.